Okay, welcome everybody. It's feeding time in my wormery, and I brought everyone along for the ride to keep me company. Today on the menu we have some nice fresh compost out of the compost tumbler that's outside. Some leaves, which I like to include in most of my feedings and prep, and a bunch of stuff that's from the freezer, mostly banana peels, a couple other random things. We're going to be feeding all of them today. Every bin gets fed, so let's try to maintain a decent pace so we can get to all of them. Okay. So we'll begin with the compost bins. So these bins are technically just compost containers at this point, and there's been a feeding zone set up on this to allow the any new hatched worms that are in this material are all being encouraged to make their way into this feeding zone here. And the feeding zone, I'm going to look at how things are progressing. Just somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 weeks at this point, I think closer to 4 weeks. And part of the idea here was to allow enough time for the cocoons or eggs to hatch out and for the baby worms to be given an opportunity to leave the compost before the compost gets utilized out in the garden. I'm going to peel away some of what's here so we can see how things are progressing. Sort of stringy vegetable. Not sure what this was. If you pull most of it away, you get a bunch of happy worms feeding away. Things look pretty good. Here's some old cardboard, paper is laid in here as bedding. I think the last feeding was melon, so I think this is not paper. This is really the remainder of the melon, cantaloupe melon. So they've really ripped through it. It's only a paper thin sheet. So I want to continue to make this area as enticing for the worm population as possible. Keep encouraging them to come over to this end of the bin so that at some point in the near future we can just go ahead and treat the remainder of the stuff on this side as straight up castings. Okay. I've got 6 bins to feed. I'm going to try to make all this stuff spread out evenly. Okay, banana peels, we'll put this stuff back in here. It's kind of already commingled with a bunch of castings. It looks like the worms have been at work on it. Here's some more leaves to throw on top, but before we do that, we'll get some of this outdoor compost and put that in here as well. Stuff that they should really enjoy. Really prepped and primed and ready for the worms to consume. That's kind of all I'm after today. I don't want to do a very heavy feeding. I think I've got plenty of food in there already. All right, let's get the next bin out here. Let's just push this baby aside and get the next one in here. Alrighty, let's put this guy back over. So now the feeding zone is going to be on this side. Same story though. You see this stuff is starting to get a nice dry. So I wanted to leave it to air out as well. It's drying out nicely. I guess as I start to make my way down, I don't encounter any worms at all. I haven't seen one worm yet. Huh. I guess this horizontal migration stuff seems to work. Unless I'm having a daydream. But we didn't come here to harvest or anything like that. We just came here to feed. So, get this dry stuff off the top. Some more of that stringy vegetable that was in here from previously. Whatever that was. This is the cantaloupe rinds, cantaloupe melon rinds. Okay. I want to get a peek at how, since there were so few worms in the compost, I'm assuming that the ones that were lingering, or maybe even all the ones that have hatched by now, are over here feeding and keeping one another company. Little bits of melon here and there down the bottom. Still have some meat on it that I can feel. All right. We'll kind of air out the whole feeding zone. Do the same as we did earlier. Some asparagus too. Yum yum. We'll grab a few handfuls of the garden compost. Get all of this back into play. This material is pretty close to being ready. I start thinking about where these worms are going to wind up. Okay, I'm just going to go back towards the wall. Alrighty. These bins from the 19th of September. Tomorrow will be 1 month. These bins have been in service. They've been fed a couple times. And for the moment I'm still feeding in the middle. That's what the indicator here is. These two newest bins are utilizing the perforated bins, and they're shallow. So here, well, it's even drying out. It's up near the top, but they came up to the top to eat that cantaloupe rinds. The apple that I tried my best not to squish or break too much. It's usually right beneath a tasty morsel like that is where you really see the activity. That's what we've got going on here. All right, things are looking pretty good. This is some sort of a avocado pit. Might be banana peel. Not sure. Oh, this is funny too. There's a cork out of a wine bottle or something, but it's wood cork, so I'll just keep that near the middle too. So there's like little things that are sort of little mini experiments. Keep them near the bin, center of the bin. Ooh, oops. Okay. Okay. A few pieces of banana in here. What is this? I don't know. Something? Maybe apple. Okay. Doing good. Go back to marking the center as the feeding zone. Get the next bin out here. So these last two bins, the one that we just worked on and this one here, set up on the same day. They were configured identically. They've been getting fed identically. So we should expect to see more of the same here as we just did in the previous bin. The leaves on the edge seem very, I don't know how to say, kind of faded. Something that one of the squirrels, I think, buried into leaves, made its way into here, into the outside compost. It's like some sort of a nut. Little sticks. There's another rind. Okay. In this bin, I don't see many I don't see anything that is like a distinct sort of science experiment like we saw in the other bins. This one does have a lot of corn in it though. Something here, whatever this is, more corn. So, some sort of major activity. I guess anywhere there was cantaloupe, that's where the worms are, and there was a few pieces right there in the middle. The middle was a real hot spot. Just little paper thin sheets of rind left, maybe with just a tiny smattering of food on it still. Alright, looking good. Okay. Good stuff. There's been a lot of space here. I don't want to add too much more. It does not need to be overfed, that's for sure. It already is overfed, basically. Okay, looking good. This thing's loaded with food all over the place, up and down. We'll keep on feeding it. Keep feeding these little guys. Okay, doing good, doing good. So, what remains are the two oldest bins that I have. This one is from August. The other one, July. So the other two are from September. These are from August. This was from August. The oldest one I have, the last one we're going to do next, is from July. So some of these, you can see we've switched over to the horizontal feeding approach on these last couple ones, these oldest ones. I'm not treating these bins as being compost only yet. It makes sense because you can see they're still fairly densely populated. There's worms all over the place. So I would think it's still pretty, here too. To me, it's always like a pretty good indication is when I've got these little sticks that remain from the leaves. The leaves, once these little sticks all vanish, that's usually, in my case, when the compost is pretty close to being done. Some more chestnuts. Oops, I'm spraying myself. This was the one I set up most recently, a couple weeks ago maybe. Again, we have some of this stringy vegetable from the last feeding. Here too, what is this? That's just paper. I'm hitting more paper on the bottom. Don't know what that was. Crumbled it apart very easily. This seemed like a pretty popular spot. Is it because it was bedding? Bedding seems to be a popular spot. Really just trying to distinguish what things are. Like this is a banana peel's thick part, hard part on the very end that it connects to the bunch with. So is this, I believe. Okay. Alright, so this feeding zone that we've set up not too long ago is definitely attracting a nice crowd, a good crowd of worms here, which I like to see. So we're gonna make a little space in here. I'm gonna give them some banana peel. And handful of garden compost. Looking good. Got just enough to feed the last bin. We'll bring in some of this remaining stringy vegetable matter from the last feeding, or from, that was a couple feedings ago, I think. Bring back the leaves. Alright, okay. one more to go. This is our oldest bin, the bin that goes all the way back to July. End of July, July 23rd. This one's been set up as a horizontal migration for a little while now. Get some happy seeds here, germinating. See that once in a while. Okay, more of the same. Chestnuts. Oh, here we've still got some chestnut on the inside. Some of them maybe they don't like. I don't know why. Maybe they need a little more time to... Some of them they eat them clean, 1, 2, 3, and other ones they really take their time on. Oh wow, this one. It's like marrow in a bone. You could just peel out all those castings. And it seems like right in between the kernels, if you crack it in half, a lot of times that's where you'll see a lot of the worms squirming in between the kernels. Okay. Wow, look at all these worms. I could feel them in between my fingers as I pushed up. Crazy. Wow. There's a lot of them here. Getting attracted to the new feeding zone that's been set up over here. Some sort of pit or seed. They've infiltrated it quite nicely. They don't need my help. There's an abundance of food over here. Doesn't mean we're not going to feed them though, because I'm going to give them what's left. Which means we're going to give them these banana peels. Banana peels definitely seem to attract a lot of attention because they just become unrecognizable almost immediately, with the exception of the little hard stems. Everything else always just vanishes. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Whatever was left of our garden compost here. Here too, I guess I should probably probe down into the material to see how the evacuation is progressing. If it's anything like the last one was, no, it's nothing like the last one was. This one is still riddled with worms. Okay. And I wonder if that's because, well, you know, you could probably tell too, just from me moving it around, how it sticks. It's a little more damp, a little more moist. As best I can do is just try to sort of churn it up a little bit, air it out. This one's been set up with a horizontal migration for a period that's longer than that other bin, that drier bin. But I guess maybe because the moisture is so rich on this side, they're tending to remain in the material. But I really want them to start making their way over, so anything I could do to help. I think the starting point would be to try to help promote this material drying out. As I put my fingers through it, I don't feel any really large food chunks. You don't see too many little leaf stems. There are lots of worms everywhere throughout the material. Alright. Not sure what else I can do. I've pretty much churned up all the material. Stuff I pulled up from the bottom, you could see there's still remaining little sticks and stuff, and that's probably part of the reason that they haven't left yet, because there is a whole bunch of food still intermingled with these castings. little sticks and whatnot. So I guess this is probably the best I could do, is try to help promote air drying. Maybe maybe even leave it uncovered for a while. That might help. That might actually help. I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave this one uncovered for a while, and we'll see if it helps with the moisture situation. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye now.